In tonight's healing room, the topic is the significance of the soul, which is a topic that is very near and dear to me, as I have placed so much focus in my personal life, my teachings, my work. Everything is all about the soul, because to me, the soul is running the show, not my little ego and all of its desires. So the soul is supreme. It is the highest part of ourselves that resides in another sphere of consciousness. And if you ever did any research on this, you'd hear many people saying that the soul actually is not incarnated inside of us. And the way I came to understand it is, it's like the sun. You know, the sun is perfectly situated exactly where it is in time and space, and it provides us with light and nourishment on many levels. But if it came any closer, it would burn up the planet and all of us on it. So the soul that has this very high frequency, it influences us, it impacts us to the point of giving us life, to animating us, to giving us vitality. And the more inner work we do, the closer or the nearer the soul becomes. So the more inner work we do, the more we raise our consciousness, the more we deal with our shadows in this physical world, which means the more lighter we become, the more the soul projects its energy into these bodies. And so for that to happen, we'd have to go through many an upgrade. It's like going from 10 watts to 1,000,000 watts. So you can imagine what it requires for us to hold that high of a wattage of energy in our bodies. So think about Gautama Buddha or Jesus Christ or other realized masters. They were incarnations of higher consciousness. And at times they would say, "Do not touch me if you want to remain alive." I've read numerous books where they would say that when they were doing their greatest inner work, they would say, "Don't even come near the cave that I'm working in," because they are doing such profound soul work that it would fry anyone's system that came near. So we have the opportunity, if it's our soul's calling in a lifetime, to truly raise our consciousness. But it's not like it's my goal to do so. It's not like my will. It is a calling. The soul calls us to do the work we're here to do, right? The soul calls us to do the work we're here to do. And our job is to listen and to respond. So this is what we really want to master about being in this world: how to listen through the distraction of our minds, our limited minds, of the external world, of all the things that want to pull us out of our self/soul. We want to watch all those things and always have the way to return back to our core, back to our soul. And each one of us has a soul purpose. We're all not here to do the same thing, just would never work out. But we have our own unique soul purpose that we design before we incarnate. That's what destiny is. We are born to fulfill our destiny, which basically means we're born to follow our guidance and walk the path that was set before we were born. It's really not that difficult. It becomes difficult when we resist the path that we are given. Some of those paths are very difficult paths. They're paths of suffering. Others look like they have a much easier path. But the soul lives many, many, many an incarnation, thousands upon thousands upon thousands. And it is accumulating data, lessons, experiences, because that's what it's here to do. To become a human being, a human soul, is the penultimate of a soul's journey. It's an extraordinary achievement because we have to go through all these other levels, quote, lower levels. We have to have all these experiences before we get to becoming a human. So Darwin was partially correct in his theory of evolution. We start out as very simple entities in the gross material world. And we have to have all the experiences where we accumulate all these samskaras, impressions of the past. And then we get to human consciousness, human soul. And then it's like, now we have a completely different level of awareness. Now we have choice. Now we can return to source with our conscious, awakened awareness. And so with this awareness, we tune back in. So the evolution to human is from an external to the human, and then the human back to self is an involution. It's an internal journey, even though we're in an external reality. Can you find your way back to unity consciousness through the duality of this world, with your soul as your GPS? Can you return to unity consciousness in a realm of duality that is split through the service and guidance of your soul? Can you involve? And that's what we're here to do from my perspective and all of my studies and learnings and guidances from my inner voice and my soul. And so that's why I take things pretty seriously. I ask for guidance with everything that I do, every decision I make. I don't make any decision until I get the okay from the higher ups, because I'm not here to waste my time. And sometimes I don't want to do something, and the guidance is, you're absolutely going to do it. And I, of course, relent eventually. And then when I go, I realize why it was so important for me to have attended whatever experience it was. And so I've learned now to not even, say no, just be like, fine, I will follow the guidance, because there's always gold at the end of that road. And so that to me is our prime objective in a lifetime, is to reconnect to the soul, reconnect to the inner voice, our inner guidance, have our daily practice, receive in the silence, and then follow that guidance, act on the guidance. Because the soul is not just energizing this body. The soul is operating in various realities at the same time, multi-dimensional, as well as in other incarnations. So there's a plethora of things going on that our little egoic self can't possibly understand the infinitude of what's transpiring at the soul level. Forget about the universal consciousness level or forget about all that. I'm just talking this individual entity and all that it's going through. So imagine the soul is the body, and who I am is I am a cell, just one cell in my liver. That's the experience I'm having, thinking it's everything. Meanwhile, the soul is existing in all the trillions of other cells in the body, having all these different experiences. So it's minuscule and at the same time connected to all these other experiences. So my experience right now is impacting all the other experiences my soul is having. And that when I go through a healing crisis and I come out of it and I evolve, and I'm stronger, and I've integrated my shadows, and I'm holding more light, it's a domino effect to all the other aspects of myself. It's not just limited to this reality in me, because this is just one small cell in the greater body. And in the same way, my healing of this self impacts all of humanity. The micro impacts the macro impacts the micro. It's holographic. And so this is the incentive for healing, for using all of our inner resources to do this most challenging work that we're called to do in a lifetime. And some of us are called to do pretty deep, profound healing work. Some of us came with a lot of baggage to heal. It's not a problem unless you ignore your part of work. Otherwise, it's not a problem. It is just a journey. And each time we incorporate another aspect of ourself that was split in consciousness, we become more whole and we step closer and closer to unity consciousness. We move closer towards the sun, towards the soul, towards the source. So the soul is this very fascinating cosmic entity with a tremendous amount of genius and intelligence. And when we do the inner work and master emptiness, right? Teaching the ego to let go of control, teaching it that it doesn't know anything. It thinks it knows things, and it may know some things about this very material world. But in terms of the greater picture of existence, it knows little to nothing. And so once the ego masters humility and emptiness and surrenderance, then that space gets filled with the genius of our soul. And all this information begins to arise inside of us. And more we become fascinated with how in the world is all this happening. It's actually completely and utterly natural. It's natural to hear voices. It's natural to know things, to know someone's going to call before they call, to know what the next step in one's life is, to know what's going to happen in a year, in 10 years, to have visions. All these things are the natural part of being an open, receptive, soul-connected human being. Dis-ease is not natural. No matter what Western medicine may say about illness and all of its potions it has for the illnesses, it is not normal to be ill. And the soul will make us ill when we move off path. So illness has many pieces of information in it. One of them is the soul slowing us down to integrate, to go through a healing process. Another is you're moving in the wrong direction. We're stopping you. And so it's a time to contemplate, not to override the body's intelligence and the need for rest and to go through sickness, but to sit back and go, why am I ill? Is there something to this that I need to stop and listen about? The other reason why we get sick is that the body goes through upgrades through the illness process. From a carbon-based third-dimensional material body, we are moving to a multidimensional crystalline-based light body. And so to go through that transformation is going to take some significant upgrades. And viruses and bacteria are upgrading agents. And so we don't fight these agents. We let them do their job. We support them through natural medicine. Hence my tendency to use homeopathy, flower essences, tinctures, herbs, what have you, to support nature, to support the vital force, to support the soul, not go against it. And so one has to have the innate intelligence to know, how do I support my body in moving through this, not in stopping it and trying to get it stronger so you can go back to business, get back to work. That is how we've been trained. Stop the symptoms so you can get back to your life. Not always the best way to move forward. So the soul is always giving us cues and clues when we're on path and when we're off path. Coincidences, pay very close attention to those coincidences that happen over and over again. These are signs from the soul to pay attention. You may see the same numbers coming up over and over again. I tend to see 1111 and 333 or 33. So whenever I see it, I just shake my head and say, okay, got you. We're in alignment. Let's move forward. You may hear a conversation on the street about something you've been inquiring about. Listen closely. The guidance is coming through that conversation. You may have a dream. The soul will come through in dream time to give us information. You may hear something while you are doing the dishes. Water running tends to offer clarity, guidance, information, because our minds are busy. So the shower and washing dishes are two places I find that my soul has an easy way to come right on through and say whatever it needs to say. Once I was doing dishes, and first I had a vision in the early morning of a friend of mine's son. And I was like, oh, I need to send him some money on Venmo to donate some money to his cause. And I was like, oh, I'll do it later. And then about, 4 hours later, I heard, send the money now. Like, okay, got it. I'm not gonna wait till later. And the kid needed money. He really needed money. And so that's why the soul was coming through and giving me a, like, do it. It's time now. And so I'm fortunate that I can hear the way I can hear. And I've had that since I can remember, since I'm a teenager. And I am very grateful that I have such a strong connection because I cannot get off the path. It's impossible for me to stray from my soul's path because the voice is so strong and I listen each time. I don't play games. I say, you got it, boss, whatever you want. And so that is the goal, to support this ego in realizing it's not running the show. It is sitting in the passenger seat and it's just going to follow directions. The soul's driving the car and we're going on a journey, and it may have opinions and ideas and suggestions and resistances. That's all fine. We're still moving forward in this direction, even though it makes no sense. Anything else about the soul? I think that's good for now. I think that's a good download.